Hello and welcome everyone. It is time to enter the kumite. Remember, this is not a sport. You don't play fight. What's up, fight fans? Today we're joined by the former XKO Bantamweight champion, the former Legacy FC Bantamweight champion, and a contender in the UFC's featherweight division, Steven Ocho Peterson. Steven, man, thanks for coming on to the show.
Hey, my pleasure. I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. So before we get into the nitty gritty, your nickname Ocho, where does that come from and what inspired it?
So I grew up in Los Angeles, California, got into a lot of street fights. Then halfway through high school, my sophomore year, moved to McKinney High School and, LA to Texas, big environment change. So I joined the football team and I was wearing number 8 on the practice team, and the varsity squad was, pummeling me into the dirt. They kept, I'd get up, scrappy, and they'd be like, Ocho, Ocho. And, they were just messing around, like pointing Ocho, Ocho, like they were going to, I was their target. So, when I got up scrapping, they're like, oh, Ocho thinks he could fight. So that led to me being like, yeah, who wants it, and then getting in a lot of school fights, like on the football field, in the locker room, shit, in the hallways of school. So that kind of led to that character Ocho becoming infamous for getting into fights. And at first it was a taunt and I really hated it, but once I became infamous for getting into fights, it kind of stuck. And then I enjoyed it. It grew on me. And when I had my first amateur fight, they said, what's your nickname? I said Ocho. And after that, got the crowd cheering Ocho, Ocho. So it turned it full circle.
So it came from the old school football schoolyard fights. Okay. Exactly. I like it. Yeah. And it's funny, MMA, kind of had a rising through those, football used to be the thing. And, there was a lot of people, right, myself included, that, I could fight, but I wasn't the best football player. And I think it's funny that now here we are, you're a professional cage fighter. It's like, in Texas too, MMA doesn't get enough credit. Wrestling doesn't get enough credit. It's like everybody loves football, but I think fighting in a cage is probably the hardest thing you can do.
It's definitely the hardest sport out there. More and more athletes, football players, basketball players getting into mixed martial arts are realizing that, it's the hardest sport. Anything could happen in there. And, it doesn't matter how much of an athlete you are, that obviously comes into play, but, it's a fight. And a lot of these athletes, they'll go out there and they're kind of front runners. If the fight's going their way, it's all good and dandy. But then as soon as, they meet some adversity in there, you'll see a lot of these guys crumble. So, that's where the fighters really stand out from the athletes.
Yeah, man. So even as a UFC fighter yourself, you still train and coach others at Fortis MMA, and I believe you manage some fighters as well. And I found this little quote, and I wanted to put it out there. It says, I want you to go in there and punch and kick them. This was the advice you received when going into your first fight. Now, you took it upon yourself to not leave your fighters' well-being up to advice like that. Do you feel like you came up in a time with less training and less opportunities and had to use hard work and grit to really match the level of competition?
100%. The sport is nowhere where it is now. When I started 14 years ago, I started when Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner were, on the Ultimate Fighter. I was watching WEC. So it would be like WEC was like the warm up, and then you flip over from Versus to Spike. And then on Spike, they had the Ultimate Fighter. And that was kind of my thing. I trained in the garage. And I thought, that was the standard. All these guys are just training however they can. And then I'd get home and watch WEC. I'd get home, and then after that, flip it over, and that would be kind of like my motivation. I'd look forward to that every week. I believe it was on Wednesday, and so that was be my midweek motivation, and then I grind out the rest of the week. So just the sport has grown immensely, and I was one of the guys in Texas that had to go the hard route. I had to kind of pave the way. We used to think that you win a fight and you might get a call from Dana White, just like randomly, like he's going to call you or some shit. Like it doesn't work that way. You got to have a manager in his ear, and then that call goes through your manager, you know. So there's steps to this. There's a lot of politics involved, and the sport's come full circle now. You know, I'm able to turn around and share my experience, my knowledge with these younger cats coming up, and you know, the potential is limitless, but there's also, you know, 10 times more people trying to fit in the same gap. So there are more, you know, leagues and outlets, and you know, we're growing the Texas scene. You know, I got some things that I'm working on, can't say too much about, but you know, starting off April 16th, I'm having a beginners level Muay Thai point competition tournament. We're promoting here. It's called the IKF, International Kickboxing Federation. So we're promoting that show to kind of get these young guys some experience where they don't have to worry about if they can get knocked out, or it's point fighting. So, you know, just building up that beginning level. And then I got some things in the works to help out these amateurs and give them you know, a platform to where they can get some experience and, you know, build themselves up to the professional level.
Yeah. Not get too banged up too. A lot of people are realizing now, like, you don't have to be hard 24/7. You don't have to, you know, throw hands and take all this damage to learn how to take a punch. Like, if you know you can take a punch, you don't have to take a punch every day in sparring. Like, if you do the technical, you know, free flowy kind of things, you're going to learn a lot of those techniques and everything along the way and refine those skills and those weapons. So, I mean, you really care about your fighters. Like, this is evident for anyone who keeps up with you. Do you feel like you took the lessons that you had to learn firsthand to properly prepare these up and coming fighters to really further the evolution of MMA?
100%. I took the hard route, and I don't recommend anybody take that. I've always kind of been that hard-nosed guy that had to learn the lessons on my own. And so, yeah, I went through the ringer. I tried to, you know, I fought for a professional title in my fourth pro fight. I won 2 amateur titles before I even went pro. I won the legacy belt before I went to the UFC. These are all good and dandy and stuff, but like, you're not making money fighting for a belt as an amateur. You're not making much money fighting for a belt on the local level. Even the LFA level, the legacy level, what are you making? A couple grand to fight somebody that in the UFC, you're going to be making 10 and 10 minimum to fight somebody maybe not even as talented. So, you know, I learned these lessons, and I wouldn't change it because of the experience. And I feel like I'm much better because I went through what I went through. But, you know, just career building wise, monetarily, and worth wise, if you go to the UFC and you're 6-0, you win 2 fights, now you're on a new contract, you're making really good money at 8-0, whereas opposed to if you fight a bunch of tough guys and you learn these lessons, I got into the UFC when I had, you know, a handful of losses, and now I'm automatically worth that much less because of my losses. And it doesn't even matter what level of competition I fought or, you know, what belts I've won. All that matters is the hype that they're able to build off of you. So, you know, I'm able to turn around, 1, coach these guys, and 2, manage these guys and try and bring them up proper. Not that I wasn't brought up proper, but I chose the route that I chose. And now I can explain to them why it's better not to fight for a belt as an amateur, why it's better not to fight for a local title, or take all these tough fights for, you know, pennies on the dollar, when you can just, you know, stick the path, you know, that's laid out in front of you and fight smart, earn your way up to the UFC, and then you'll really get paid.
Yeah. And I think there's a weird stipulation when it comes to records. You know, MMA is not as bad as it is in boxing. You know, right. Boxing, you take a loss, a big loss, and people start writing you off, you know, but, you know, it's taking some time. Like, the stipulation's kind of dropping off now a little bit, but I mean, it really is sad to see people writing off people, you know, just because of that.
But don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying fight a bunch of cans, but fight somebody your level of competition, you know, fight a very winnable fight. For instance, when I defended my legacy title, I fought Leandro Higo, 16-1.
Yeah.
I got paid $3,500 for that fight.
Oh my gosh.
So in the UFC, that was a 5-round fight. You know, we went all 5 rounds. It was a bloody war. In the UFC, that's a $50,000 bonus on top of whatever I'm getting paid to fight that guy. So that's a negotiation. Oh, this guy's 16-2. Okay, I want a new contract. I want to be making, 30-30. I want to be making, good money just to fight that guy. And on top of that, that's a bonus worthy fight. So yeah, just things like that. Maybe negotiate. It's not that I wasn't scared to take the fight, but maybe the fight wasn't worth the money I was making.
Right.
So to try to explain that to these younger guys, like, okay, I know you're not scared of that guy. I know you think you can take him. You're supposed to, but why would you take that risk for $3,500?
Yeah.
So, you fight somebody in the
understand
UFC,
your value.
Exactly. Understand what you're worth in the UFC.
And your longevity.
That's like 8-2
Mm-hmm.
for way more money than that. So
right.
Yeah, just understanding that. I feel like when I turn around as being a coach and a manager for these guys, that kind of experience will, that will be intangible for these young guys.
Yeah. So how many fighters are you managing as of right now? And is that something you see yourself focusing on once you do decide to hang the gloves up?
Most definitely, coaching, managing. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a promoter. I'm just an entrepreneur overall. I try to, put my eggs in a bunch of different baskets and delegate different responsibilities. I always got a million things going on in my head. So as for now, I manage my younger brother. And then, I got a couple other guys that I'll throw in the mix. But Coach Safe's the main manager at Fortis MMA. He's the head coach. He's the owner. So, not to step on his toes or anything, he's kind of given me full reign of my brother, but I still go to him on all these, conversations. And, he's not going to be around forever. So I have to step up to the plate and show what I'm capable of as far as that goes. And, when he walks away from the sport, all these young guys that I'm coaching, building up, I plan on managing their careers, as they continue to grow. Right now, some of them have no fights. And right now I want to get them in this beginner level competition that I'm promoting, and then, build from there, get them into some amateur fights and build them from the ground up. That's the way to manage guys. I'm not looking for guys that are already pro or whatnot. I just want to build up my own students. And as for right now, that's about 20 to 30 guys that I'm, I've been working with for a year to 3 years, and they're getting to that level where it's time to start, throwing them in the fire and seeing if they can sink or swim.
Yeah, 20 to 30 guys. Holy cow. So your brother, Aaron Peterson, won his last fight at XKO 55. That kid has all of the potential in the world. What do you guys have in mind for him next? Do you think he should do another amateur fight at 145, or do you think it'll be better to go ahead and put him in there as a pro?
Something that we're really, contemplating. I want to see where his mind's at. It's really up to him and his actions. I think he can continue at 125 and continue to, we were thinking about getting him an amateur fight at 135 and kind of testing the waters there. But, his route for now is at 125. So depending on if we feel he's ready in the training room, I might let him go pro. I feel like by the end of this year, he should be going pro. So I feel like that's probably the next step, is to prepare him for that. But it comes down to him and his actions. He's got to put in the work. He's the one that has to get in there. Yeah.
And I definitely said 145, but that was a slip up. I meant 135.
Yeah, it's all
because he's going to fill into himself. Yeah, he's definitely. Yeah, exactly. 125 is going to be tough in 5 years or so down the line.
That's my thoughts exactly. So we want to kind of, get him up to the level at 125, and then just knowing, just like myself, I fought at 135 for a lot of my career, and eventually now 145 is tough. It's you grow in, you fill into your frame. So I know he's going to fill in, but he's 22, so he's got a few years where we can take advantage and keep him lean at 125 and, take him as far as we can get him.
Yeah, I like it, man. And, we've been discussing so much about managing and coaching and training. You're a UFC fighter. You're in the featherweight division. So a lot of people kind of think of you as a brawler because you're always willing to go out there and lay it all on the line, even racking up 2 fight of the night performances in the UFC. But in reality, you're a very technical fighter and very well-rounded at that. You actually have more submission wins than anything else throughout your career. You're usually exploring many different avenues to find a route to victory while the fight plays out. What would you say is your biggest strength or advantage in the cage?
100%. My biggest strength is my mindset, just my mentality, being able to, stay the course regardless of what happens in the fight. I'm fighting amongst the top guys in the world, and I'm unbreakable. There's nobody in there that can make me want to quit. I'm unfinished. Even in my one loss where they called it a KO, I was not finished. I was still fighting. I got dropped, but as far as
you get dropped before and get that omoplata, so
yeah, exactly.
Not
so
out.
that's
Don't
like
count
one of those things where you can never count me out of a fight. I could be getting my ass kicked for 14 minutes and pull it out. So 100% my mentality, and then just my adaptability. I've learned from each loss. Every time I fall short, I learn many lessons, and that causes me, in the long run, I'm better than the guys that beat me, because I take those lessons and I put them to use. So if I were to run that fight back, any of my one losses, which a lot of them I feel like, split decisions or decisions that I felt like I might have got robbed. Even though I felt that way, I still learned so much from those fights. And now I could turn around, and if I rematched any of those opponents, I feel like I would finish them.
Yeah, I was going to say almost every single loss that you've had was by decision. And just about half of those losses were actually via split decision. People aren't able to put you away. You got a great chin, you got great recovery. You're very well versed on the ground with good wrestling to back it up. What do you think that says about you as a fighter?
Really, I think it's a mentality. I think a lot of these guys that get finished, they accept it. Bad shit happens in a fight. You get rocked, whatever, but you can either, freak out like, oh, I'm rocked, and then, start doing stupid stuff, or you can compose yourself and, get your mind right and realize, okay, yeah, I got rocked. Okay, I need to circle a couple steps to the right. Now I'm good. Now I can get back on my bicycle. I can get back to my rhythm. Or you can, panic, and that's when the end comes. So, I'm just really composed in there, and that all comes down to my mentality and my preparation. I'm always prepared in a fight. There's never any point in a fight where I'm, outmatched to the point where I can't defend myself. I've never been to the point where I'm so exhausted in a fight. I've been tired in fights, but I can always defend myself. And that's something I just can't understand when there's guys in there and they get to that point where they can't physically defend themselves. That comes down to preparation. I feel like they didn't prepare themselves, or mentality. They
don't have that dog.
They don't have it in them. Yeah, some of these guys just don't have it in them. Like I said, a lot of these athletes, everything's going good, they're great, but as soon as they hit some adversity, then they crumble. So that's something that I don't have to deal with, because I've always been the underdog in my career, and the underdog grows. It grows up to become the big dog, and I'm becoming the big dog in the sport now.
Yeah, you are, and you're one of those people who can create a light in the dark places, because when you go there, there's no one there holding your hand. There's no one there trying to give you words of wisdom. It's just you in this dark place, and you can create that light and keep moving forward and going for the objective.
I like the way you said that too, because that's, in all walks of life, I like to think of myself as the light that shines in the darkness, and I'm able to, find other lights, in social situations. If, somebody's going through some shit, and I am that light in the darkness, that I'm able to shed light and, just help people through that. So, in the cage, I'm able to find that light because I am that light.
Yeah. And when you give your up and coming fighters this advice, they know it's not coming from a place of redundancy. Like, you've been there. And when you say this, you fucking mean it.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. So your fight with Julian Erosa, Juicy J, is regarded as an early fight of the year nominee. It was a hell of a fight, and it came down, like we were talking about, to a split decision. Did you feel like you did enough to win that fight? And do you think it had all the elements to be a fight of the year?
Honestly, I did feel like I did enough. I felt like I won the second and the third round. First round, it was at the last 10 seconds, he clipped me, and he did a lot of that damage that I was bleeding the rest of the fight in the last 10 seconds of the first round. Second round, I had him on the ropes most of the round. He did land that spinning back fist that dropped me down to a knee, popped back up. I got right back to work. The third round, I felt like I had dropped him a couple of times, and he just had some really well-timed takedowns. But on the other side, I had submission attempts that kind of should have nullified, in my mind, the points from whatever takedowns he got.
Yeah.
But
damage trumps all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When it comes to damage and the threatening to finish the fight.
Exactly. A takedown isn't going to finish the fight. Mm-hmm. A close submission attempt where, he had to defend that submission attempt or go to sleep, that was much closer to finishing the fight. And then me dropping him much closer to finishing the fight. And the statistics were really close. Yeah. So when it came down to decision, I hate going to decision because I feel like I've been robbed so many times. But this one, it was like, I felt like I won, but I can understand it going the other way. I didn't feel like I was robbed. I felt like it was like a close fight that you could have seen both ways. And it is what it is. I got to accept it. If I would have felt like I got robbed when I fought Alex Caceres, I was very vocal about that. I felt like I definitely won that fight. In this fight, yeah, I felt like I won, but I can understand if you score those takedowns highly, depending on what kind of judge you are. I could see it going towards him. So I wasn't too upset, but I definitely want to run that one back. I feel like if we got 4 and 5, I get that knockout. I feel like it could stick around as a fight of the year candidate, but there's a lot of 5-round fights. And say we get a 5-round fight, I don't think it goes all 5. I think I finish him. I get one more round with him. I hope we get another fight, and I would like that to be a main event fight. So my goal is to go win a couple more, get that rematch, make it a main event for one of these fight nights, and take them out, blow the roof off the building.
I like that. That's might be the next goal: main event, a fight night. Then start looking at those pay-per-views. I mean, exactly. it was a hell of a fight, and in my head, I felt like you were kind of gaining momentum as the fight was playing out. You're kind of breaking him down. So I mean, predicting the 4th round finish sounds about right, honestly, just with how the fight was kind of, I don't know, for me, when I was watching, how I felt like it was kind of playing out, like you were kind of breaking him down. He started off, using his length and he was fast, and he started finding ways inside the pocket and putting that pressure on him. And he didn't like that very much. But he's really good. Juicy J is good. So
yeah, that experience, man, I'm sure he's been there many a times, and he didn't break. When I had him rocked, I mean, I had him looking down at the mat at one point, and then a lot of guys would have kind of crumbled in that situation when I'm onslaughting on him, but he was able to compose himself. And that, like I was talking about earlier, sometimes it's about just taking a couple of steps to the side and getting your wits about you, sticking out that jab. And that's what he was able to do, is kind of compose himself in those bad situations. So that comes down to experience and heart.
Yeah. So we have a saying here at Enter the Kumite: this is not a sport. You don't play fight. What are your thoughts on that? Do you view MMA as a sport, or do you see it as maybe something more than that?
I feel like it's a lifestyle, man. Yeah, and when you're in there, if you're playing points, that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be you have 3 5-minute rounds or 5 5-minute rounds to do your best to take this guy out. The goal is to take the guy out. And then at the end of that time limit, then you go to the judges' scorecards. So some of these guys are like playing the game, trying to go to the judges' scorecards, trying to outpoint, but that's not a real fight. That's point competition. We're in here trying to take it, like that should be the goal. And I feel like based on the scoring criteria that they say they're going by, that should highlight, striking, grappling, aggression, and octagon control. If you got aggression and octagon control, and then a couple moments in the striking, that should weigh pretty heavily in your favor. I feel like just going forward shows that you are trying to finish the fight. If somebody's backing up and trying to, stick and move, that's boxing. Go to boxing if you want to do that. The goal is to take out your opponent. And that's what I try to do every time. Now I'm learning to kind of draw my opponent out and set things up and, be a lot calmer in there, because guys have been able to, try to use my aggression against me. So I'm trying to find that middle ground where obviously I'm still trying to finish the guys, but I'm able to kind of set them up, and I don't get, caught just chasing the guy. So, there's definitely some middle ground in there, which does make it a sport. But at the end of the day, the goal is to finish your opponent.
At the end of the day, it's like a simulated fight to the death in a cage.
Exactly.
With a few rules, because I mean, come on, don't hit anybody in the nuts, don't gouge anybody's eyes out. But
we want to live to fight another day. But,
right.
Essentially, if the ref wasn't there, that's exactly what we're simulating. I wish there was a rule change to where it's a 20-minute time limit. We fight for 20 minutes. If there's no finish within the 20 minutes, then it becomes a draw. And we'd get a lot more finishes because guys wouldn't be, they'd be either trying to let the guy wear himself out and then finish him towards the end of the 20 minutes, or they'd be going at it for 20 minutes. So I feel like that would be a lot, more of a simulated fight to the death. If you last 20 minutes, then it's a draw. So, nobody wants to go to a draw. It would incentivize the guys a lot more to actually fight.
Yeah, that's a very interesting concept there. I kind of like how PFL is setting up their tournaments where it's point-based, and if you don't get the finish, you only get 3 points. So even if you win both of your qualifying fights, that you only have 6 points, you might not be able to actually go and finish the tournament and be PFL champion or win that $1 million. Right. So I do like I think the UFC could shake up their incentive system a little bit more than just the $50,000 bonus. It works in some cases, in some cases it doesn't really, but
I agree.
I don't know. I like the concept of if you don't finish the fight, then it was a draw. But I mean, we have seen some where it's like someone's just getting mauled, but they got that heart, they got that spirit, they don't get out of there. So I guess it is kind of nuanced. But so after that fight on February 5th, when are you wanting to get back in there? And is there anyone specifically that you have in mind that you'd like to fight?
I definitely like to get in there by summertime. I'm eyeing early May.
Okay.
Shoot, May 7th, they're going to Phoenix, Arizona. Why don't you throw me on that one? I would love to get on that card. Yeah, and I really don't have anybody besides, the rematches I got in my back pocket. I'd like to, just pick up a couple wins on my way up. I really need to establish myself back on a win streak or a big name. Like I've said in the past, we're all in this for the same goals. I'm not trying to step on anybody. I'm trying to beat guys that don't belong there. Maybe somebody that's undefeated, like 6-0 or 8-0, get into the UFC, trying to skate by without fighting a top level, high level competition. Those are the kind of guys that I prefer to fight because, they didn't quote earn their way as I did. I feel like I took the hard road and I earned where I'm at. And some of these other guys might not have taken that same road, and therefore they're ranked above me. So those are the guys I kind of look for. So Nate Landwehr, he's somebody I just don't care for his personality or the character he portrays. That's one name that sticks out. Other than that, I don't really want to call anybody out and try to shoot anybody down.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because I was thinking, maybe this guy's going to be the hype train derailer. It's like when you took on Chase Hooper, I mean, you really your career really picked up some momentum on that. Like after that, and I was thinking like maybe like a Patty Pimblett or
100%.
I have Nate Landwehr written down right here.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like,
These
I'd love
guys
to see
with
that
all
Patty
this hype that they haven't done shit, right? They haven't fought a high level of competition, and when they do, if they pass that test, then okay, they are who they say they are. But a lot of them, they're not on that level. Like you said, Chase Hooper. That's exactly why that fight made sense, because the kid got a lot of hype and he hadn't really fought anybody good. So, guys like that, I love to step in there and, ruin their hype train.
Yeah. And I feel like, people really underestimate how good your jiu-jitsu and your grappling is. And I feel like the Patty Pimblett fight would be, I would favor you to win that fight, honestly, because you definitely have more, versatile striking. And I don't think his jiu-jitsu is really gonna phase you very much. I think that'd be a killer fight.
I beat black belts on the ground. So, you know, I like that underestimating. When they underestimate me, that's when I take that guy where he's strong. I took Chase. The only place he could beat me, it was on the ground. I took him there and showed that I was better on the ground. So that's the type of thing I love. Leandro Higo, you know, my height in that fight was my submission attempts. I almost submitted him. Guys like in the UFC, there was this one guy I fought. He was a black belt, and I beat him on the ground. So yeah, just these guys where they think they're going to have an advantage on the ground, and then I come in and you know, really tie them up. That's what I like, is when they underestimate me.
Yeah, your jiu-jitsu is phenomenal, actually, and I think it's hilarious that people underestimate you, and they think, you know, I mean, it's funny because they're underestimating you, like, oh, he's a brawler. It's like, no, that's not that simple. Very technical.
That's just what they see, because I like to put on a show, and if I'm bleeding, I let it bleed. I'll spit that blood all over the mat, all over my face, whatever. I got scar tissue because I've fought a high level of competition, and I've earned those scars over the course of my career. So, you know, whereas a lot of guys, if you lay under the radar, they're going to think, oh, your jiu-jitsu is phenomenal because you ain't fought nobody good. So, yeah, I mean, I like that they think I'm a brawler, because then I'm going to go in there, pop them with the jab, and you know, use my technique to beat them. Those are the fights that, you know, that stand out, as the fights where I'm bleeding and brawling, because that's all people remember. They don't remember the 24-second submission that I got, the minute 16-second submission that I got, the 59-second submission that I got. They don't remember that shit because it's so short-lived.
Again,
they remember.
That's what I was saying. All these submissions you got, serious. You got some serious BJJ, and people don't see that because of your wars that you do have.
Yeah, those stand out predominantly in people's minds, and I mean, it makes sense. That's what they want to see. So, you know, when they put me in there with that type of matchup, that's what they get. But feel like if, you know, Sean Shelby wants to put me in there with somebody that's, you know, 8-0, that's a really good BJJ guy, I'm going to expose him on the feet. He wants to put me in there with somebody 8-0 that's a really good boxer, I'm going to expose him on the ground. So, you know, styles and matchups are what make these fights. And, you know, since I've taken the hard road, you can't go back to take, you know, I can't go back to laying under the radar. I've been in the spotlight. I can't go back, you know. So I'm at this point where if I do fight somebody that's somewhat one-dimensional, it'll be somebody that with a lot of height, or somebody that's undefeated. And, you know, I'm all for it.
Yeah, you're like the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I love it, man. I think we're going to be seeing some more $50,000 bonuses.
Without a doubt, man. Before I got to the UFC, it was like one out of every 2 fights, I would get a fight of the night, submission of the night. And it's like, oh, you get a pat on the back. Good job, guy. And then now in the UFC, we get 50 grand for these, you know, awards. So, yeah, there's a lot more where that came from. I had the knockout of the night as well. So 3 bonuses in the UFC. There's a lot more where that came from.
The spinning back fist in response to a spinning back fist.
Yeah, that's the first of its kind. First of its kind. I've seen it in Muay Thai. I have not seen it in MMA.
Yeah. No, you're just racking up all these bonuses with the UFC, and you earned another contract, right? I think it was before.
Yeah, before my last fight, I signed a new 4-fight deal. So got 3 more fights on this contract. The idea is to go get 2 more wins, maybe a couple bonuses as well, and then renegotiated a new contract, starting off with that rematch, because who doesn't want to see that fight again?
That was a hell of a fight. Like a fight of the year nominee. It's still on there. It was only 3 rounds, decision, so we'll see.
Split decision, we have to run it back. It just makes sense.
I like it. And I don't think he'd be opposed to it either. So
I don't think so. I think he would be game. The way he was looking after the fight, he was like, he told me, he's like, this is why I called you out. And I knew we'd have this kind of fight. And, you know, I was in a position, I don't have to take every fight. I don't have to say yes, but I'm the type of dude, you call me out, or like, you know, I get a matchup, Sean Shelby puts a name on the paper, let's do it. So now he owes me in return to accept the rematch, because I went out of my, he doesn't have to, but I mean, he can negotiate a new contract on it as well. So I think it's a win-win. And then we put on another fight of the year candidate. We can both rack a lot of, bonus money from that fight.
Yeah, and he was in your DMs calling you out, right? And maybe just slide into his DMs and get that fight.
Exactly. That's the way to do it. I got to go right back into his DMs.
Yeah, create a little troll account, just freeze frame one of his faces after he took like a big shot or
punch,
something.
and be like, you don't want that again. Yeah, but I'll come with my account. I don't hide behind no troll accounts. I'm straight up. If you want it, I'm here.
Yeah, Steven the meme generator Peterson. I like it. Well, hell yeah, Steven. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It means a lot for us to have you on. We're treating this like a milestone for the progression of our show. Like, got a UFC fighter on. Let's go.
Hey, man, you guys keep doing your thing. I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'd love to come back on sometime when I got a fight coming up. And, y'all keep growing. I'll keep growing. And let's take it to the top.
Yeah, it means a lot, man. I look forward to seeing you in the octagon again. We're going for the performance of the night next time, not fight of the night, right?
Yeah, I want to go in there and just ice a couple guys, and then we'll step up, maybe make that fight if I get the hype behind me, that's a rematch for a main event.
Hell yeah. No, I when you said fight night main event, I was like, that's totally realistic in the next like 2 fights. I could see it 100%.
No doubt.
Steven Ocho Peterson, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on to the show. He will be back in the octagon. He was saying sometime near summer, so keep an eye out for that, guys. Remember, guys, this is not a sport. You don't play fight.